Well, hey everybody, Patrick Batty and John Friesen for Pickleball Today, Season 2, Episode 2. We are back. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing great, Patrick. It's been a hectic little while, but certainly happy to be back here and feeling good and loving this nice warm weather.
Right. Yeah, spring is here. The snow is pretty much gone in our part of the country. But anyway, let's get on. Let's talk about what we've got going on today. First of all, before we do that, welcome to Pickleball Today. We're basically Canada's national pickleball podcast. We also, though, because of the viewers and listeners, we do a lot about US because the industry is there. And we have probably 2/3 of our listeners and viewers are in the US. So even though we start as Canada's national one, we are really dealing with Canada and US.
Podcast for everybody.
Yeah, we're at pickleballtoday.co and is our website, but our podcasts are on all podcast players, and it's called Pickleball Today, the pod. So whether you're on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Audible, believe it or not, Amazon Prime, we are there. You'll find us if you want it. Pickleball Today, the pod's the podcast. Now, what are we going to talk about today? First of all, John, first topic is the carbon Trufoam that you've been playing. A quick update on that. Next topic.
Looking forward to that, yeah. And Patrick's going to take us through the 6.0 next gen, folks. You're not going to want to miss this. This is really interesting and unique. And it's one that I've been really looking forward to hearing all about as well.
Next topic is a little mini cruise update. I went away a few weeks back. Not going to be talking about it long because we've talked about cruises before, but I will give you a fast update.
Yeah, we'll be talking about a couple other things, but I think one of the more important things is definitely the pickleball paddle giveaway and the winner that was selected. So I know there's a couple people inquiring and looking forward to hearing who that person is.
Yeah, and also you're going to be talking a lot about there's some new rules about targeting. So kind of going at players, shooting a ball at people's head intentionally.
That's right. Yeah, it's a couple new rules that are coming into play, and I think it's important not only from a pro level, but hopefully that filters down to the rec league or even development stages. So we'll be talking about that a little bit more a little later in the episode today. That and a few other topics, but it's a positive show that we've got put together here for you, and I hope everybody enjoys it. So Patrick, why don't we jump right into this?
Okay. First item. Now this won't be long. In fact, I don't think our podcast is going to be very long today, but I always say that. What's the 6.0 next gem paddle? Well, first of all, a next gen, GEM, by the way, I think it's a clever name because all their paddles have gemstone names like diamond and ruby, et cetera, et cetera. 6.0 next gem paddle is one that I happen to have right here.
Look at that.
And the world has not seen this paddle. There may not be any videos. Well, I'm out of focus there a bit. There we go. Is that better?
Yeah, it looks great.
I don't know why it's all backwards to me looking at it from my screen. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next gen paddle is not a production paddle. And in fact, they may never be a paddle that will come out called 6.0 next gem. This paddle is a kind of a combination of a bunch of technology that 6.0 is trying out right now. And they have 6 new paddles on the way over the year, or at least a number of months. So a lot of things coming. This paddle is one that they've sent. It says ambassador exclusive. They've sent this particular paddle to 20 people around the world. And they're basically the advocates or people that have been selling their paddles to at clubs, or in my case, through our podcast. And they've sent it to the top 20 affiliates essentially to get feedback on it. So I am one of the 20 lucky people that has that, and I've been playing now with it, John, for a couple of weeks. Now the mystery about this paddle is I don't know what's inside it, which is kind of odd, right?
Yeah.
Like you have your TrueFoam, you know what's inside it, you know what it looks like. We're going to have some neat new paddles next week that we'll be able to talk about, but I don't know what's inside this. But I gotta say, I really like it, whatever it is. So that's why I'm not going to be able to talk too much about it. It is absolutely, without a doubt, it has the grittiest surface I have ever played. So the amount of topspin I'm getting with this is pretty outstanding. Now, is it legal? I don't know. But I don't think they would put the amount of grit on it that they know is not legal, right?
True.
There's no point in testing a paddle like that. So I assume it's legal. This paddle itself is not legal for a tournament, but it is the grittiest surface I've ever played with. It is not a power paddle per se, probably more of a control paddle, but high-end control, a more powerful control paddle, but not as powerful, I think, as you've got the Eula TA
Yeah.
and even I don't know, your Carbon Trufoam, if you call that a power paddle.
It's a bit of both
Yeah.
power and control.
Yeah, I think they might be similar that way. But
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'm really excited about it. I just put a little overgrip on it just to keep the handle nice. This may be an award for somebody, or maybe because it's one of only 20 in the world. I may just keep this baby up on my wall.
I think you probably should. That's
probably.
one thing to note, and Patrick did let me handle a little bit when he first got it. We were all very excited to see it because the fact that it's so rare and only one of 20.
Yeah.
Just picking it up, you notice how light it is, and for folks that have a bit of a tennis elbow thing going on, or they really old injuries, maybe they're still trying to recover from. Playing with a lighter paddle makes a big difference, and I think something like this, like the next gem here that Patrick's holding, is probably where they're going with it, because I've never felt a paddle that light. I'd be curious to weigh it and see.
Could be. Well, a light paddle right now is very timely for me. I don't think we put it in our topics, but I've had a bit of a sore tennis elbow thing going lately, so I don't want too heavy. And so this paddle, it is light, yet I have played with it with no weights on it whatsoever. I've got solution to the tennis elbow. We will talk about. We'll add that later into the episode. But I must admit, I was excited about it because there haven't been a lot of new paddles come out from 6.0 recently.
Right.
And they'll do different color or different whatever, but there hasn't been a lot. I know they're working on it. There's stuff that I'm not allowed to say. And yet I'm not direct. I'm kind of an insider, but they don't divulge a lot because they don't want you to talk about stuff that is proprietary while they're still in it. It's a very competitive world these days.
Are we even able to talk about this one?
Well, they said I could. Yeah, they said I could because effectively because I don't know anything about it, I can't do any damage, I guess.
Yeah, I think for our audience here, if you've been around the day that Patrick brought this to the club, where we're tapping the paddle to kind of see, and Patrick says, "Give me your TrueFoam." So he takes my TrueFoam and he's knocking on it at different points in the paddle, and then comparing it to the next gem, knocking on that. It was just a comical sight.
Yeah, we didn't know if it was is it a foam inside or not? Is it honeycomb or not? I don't know. Yeah. I kind of think it might be foam, but I am just guessing.
Yeah, it was super light, but it doesn't sound like a foam, at least not a solid. It's,
So I don't want to get into it too much, but it is the paddle that I'm playing the most right now because I really, really enjoy it. It's also not hurting my elbow as much as some that I had been using that I had weighted up a bit. Yeah. So,
and that's an excellent segue, Patrick, because the next topic actually is your elbow.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. These show notes together.
Yeah, there we go. Well, what's going on is I've never had arm injuries with pickleball. I've been playing for 2 years, never had a problem with it at all. I went through time with groin injury last year that just had me not play for quite some time, but I've never had an arm injury. And I've been getting back to pickleball a lot recently, so I've been probably overdoing it. I'm feeling extremely healthy. I really want to get at it. I've freed up my schedule more than it was freed up before. So I'm out there playing much more, usually almost an hour and a half to 2 hours, 5, 6 days a week, that's a lot on an arm, right?
It is, yeah.
And especially if normally with exercises, you're supposed to increase it by 10%, a week or something like that as you increase it, and then your body gets used to it. At least that's my understanding. Well, I had, been off even with the cruise. We will get to that, but I didn't play a lot on that. I've been off a lot for about a month, and all of a sudden I'm, playing, 12 hours a week, and the elbow started getting sore. So I did a couple things. I immediately went to bought a one of these tennis elbow kind of devices to put on here. If I got it right, up around there. And but I felt relief, but I also felt it it didn't last the entire session. After 2 hours, what I was getting was the pain wasn't in the elbow, it was the forearm, like along in here.
Did you find you had to adjust it while during play? You know how it kind of tends to expand on its
It,
own.
it, it, it stayed in place nicely, but I was finding the problem I was having. I don't know if I'm sharing it properly. I just did a little nick on my arm there, but this was getting sore in here, and a little bit in the elbow, mainly here. And I was worried about it because it was, the last thing you want to do is tear it or something. So I played with that. It helped, but I was finding by the end of my 2 hours, the forearm was getting sore again. We have a sports doctor who plays with us at our club, and he says, "Well, you got to get a sleeve."
Yeah.
And so I bought a sleeve, and there are expensive sleeves and there are cheap sleeves, and I'm on a tight budget, so I bought a inexpensive one that I have found to be extremely helpful. And I mean, this is not rocket science, but effectively get it up here, and it's not nearly as bulky as the strap.
Yeah.
And I have had no pain whatsoever since I started playing with that. And I played with it about 3 sessions now. So that kept not just the elbow, there's a lot of, structural stability there, but I had no pain in the forearm at all once I put this on. So these were like 2 for $12 on Amazon or something like that. There's all kinds of them. Read the reviews. Won't recommend a brand. But the other thing I wanted to look at is, if you don't need one of these or you can avoid it, why not? And there are a lot of videos on YouTube, and I won't recommend a particular one, and I'm not a doctor. I was going to say, here's the thing that I've been doing, but to be honest, I'm not a doctor, and I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. So I am not going to recommend you listen to me. But there are a lot of good videos. There's a physiotherapist or chiropractor from St. Joseph's, Michigan. I think it's St. Joseph's, and he does great videos on YouTube. I will put a link to his show or his channel in the show notes. But he's got a great one, and he talks about doing a thing called skin. It's like skin. I don't know if the term was scraping, but effectively he puts some oil on your wherever the pain is, a little bit of oil, and then he takes a spoon. I thought I had it here, but I don't. But anyway, he takes a spoon and he puts the end of the spoon and he pushes.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
And so now the other thing you could do is do it with the side of the handle. And for me, I found the end of the spoon was, I didn't like the feeling so much, and I also seem to have very easy to cut skin at this point in my life. So that's not from it. But
Yeah. So
the side was good, and essentially you're just skin scraping or forearm scraping. You're doing it along there, but you have some oil on there, and you're pushing it, and you'll see your arm will get a little red, in the areas, and it's kind of the blood is circulating more there to help heal it. And that's effectively what it is. I don't know if it's a solution to solve it or not, but I did feel relief from it. So you'll see it if you look at forearm scraping or something like that. But again, I'll put a link to his specific video in our show notes.
I think Patrick, that's one of the steps. That's typically what any healthcare professional will tell you, using the RICE formula. So rest, ice, compression, and elevate. And so just that to kind of recover from those strains and those injuries helps. And I think going 5-6 days a week, like you had been going the past few weeks, is a bit much. And I've encountered that in the past too, where I just kind of went too hard. And then I end up, feeling it. So right now my shoulder's hurting. I played this morning at a different club with a friend of mine and some of her colleagues, and it was a really hard hitting game. And I know now that I was thinking maybe I'll play tomorrow, but I'm thinking I might just rest and take that sort of day off. But really, just the compression, the ice and just the elevation really all kind of works together. So that compression sleeve is probably a good first step for sure.
Right. The compression sleeve was just an immediate, right? And it wasn't expensive, but I'm going to still do this to see if it actually solves it over time. I don't expect miracles, but we'll see. Anyway, I will put a link in the show notes. What do we have? Oh, we should mention, John, before we go on, folks, while you're here, if you could like and or comment on our video or subscribe to our channel wherever you are, please do. And we will talk about our paddle giveaways. The more likes, comments, all that kind of stuff will count as an entry to our paddle giveaways. We'll do that in a little bit of time as well. And we'll explain that later, as well as our winner.
Yeah, I think we're looking forward to that. I've had a couple of people reach out saying, "Hey, when are you guys announcing that?" And I said, "Stay tuned for the next episode." And
we're announcing it today.
You can like and subscribe. And
and liking it, basically, we might as well, while we're here, you like and subscribe. Basically, go to our web page, pickleballtoday.co/win, and you can enter to win a paddle. Just fill in the form. And that's an entry, but there are on that page a number of things you can do, like a video, comment, subscribe to our channel, all these things that simply give us more exposure, because the more people that like your video, especially when it's new, or comment on it when it's new, means it will be shown to even more people still. So just follow the instructions there, pickleballtoday.co/win, and that'll help us out. And honestly, we don't have millions of likes. We don't have thousands. So you've got a good chance of winning a paddle. And usually the paddles we're giving are $100 to $200 paddles. So
tens of people will be
tens of
tens. Yeah, it's let's go multiple tens. But certainly, just a big shout out to all the people that did engage with our last episode. We saw the views and it was really, really positive. So thank you everybody for tuning in, sharing, encouraging your friends and others to tune in and sort of just get the update on what's happening in the pickleball world.
Our last podcast, by the way, was the most watched podcast we've ever had.
Wow, that's excellent.
No, and that's all you, man, because that was the first one. So it appears the world likes more of John.
That's I wouldn't go that far. I think as people missed Patrick.
Well, maybe. Maybe I would like to think so, but you did it. It was, it was a very fun podcast, and it was our most watched one, and we'll be doing more of them more frequently as well. So
exactly,
what's the next target, John?
Well, in between, sort of the other things that we have going on, which is actually, kind of brings up our next topic, between playing and other life obligations that both Patrick and I have. I played a tournament recently. And it was interesting to say the least. It was a bit of a different format than I was accustomed to, and tournaments obviously come in all different sort of formats, and but in this case it was a timed game, which I thought was really interesting, and the pool of teams was enormous. And so I'd entered into play with another fellow for men's doubles, and then the next day I was scheduled to play in the mixed doubles tournament, which I think was about 20 teams, just in our category alone. So it was a pretty exciting time. But again, just in order to sort of keep everybody on schedule, it was a timed game, and so you would get 12 minutes to score as many points as you could, and the whoever had the most points after the 12 minutes, you win that game. And so it wasn't just a typical 211 or 215. It was in some cases you could go up to 28 to 10 type of score, and it was just
wow. So it was a rush between points then too, right?
it was
You weren't taking your
exactly.
time.
Yeah, and that's what ended up happening in the two pools. So specifically for the men's doubles that we played, it came down to the point differential, and so there was something to really consider. I think for me specifically in subsequent tournaments that I play, if it is a timed kind of thing, to really focus on the point differential and not give up those points against, which made a big difference in a team that we actually lost to that didn't make the cut. So we placed fifth overall. Big shout out to Karin. He was my partner for that tournament. But yeah, finishing fifth overall. But based on our point differential, it made a big difference. So for those of you that are playing tournaments and it's new and exciting, I'd love to hear about it. Sort of how you fared, what you thought worked well, what didn't. And likewise with the mixed doubles, unfortunately, we had a big snowstorm and we weren't able to make it out to the tournament, so we had to withdraw at the very last minute for that one. But I just got notification this weekend that we'll be playing in another mixed tumbles tournament with the same partner. So I'll keep you posted on how that goes.
Oh, cool.
But certainly, it's it's a fun thing to be a part of. Really, kind of test your skills, and kind of focus on practicing with one partner, or playing again and again and again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a.
I had not heard of like a speed. It's like speed dating pickleball.
Sort of
I'm not sure that's for me. But you know what I do? I like to go fast when I'm on a roll.
Yeah.
In a normal game, if I'm serving and just hitting and taking the points, I like to just get to the next one. On the other hand, when I'm playing like dirt, like I do sometimes, I then like to take my time, and even occasionally, even if it's just a social game, call it timeout. Because a little break for my head and maybe a break in momentum for the other against on the other guys seems to make a change. So I don't know. I'm not sure if it's very often that people in a social game call it timeout, but I have nothing against it whatsoever because I'm always playing people quite a bit younger than me, and I could use a little bit of a breather, and but I wouldn't say I do it 1 in 10 games. It's not, that's about it. But once in a while I do it, and I'll tell you what, you almost always take the next point. It's just real weird.
And it's so important for even just the psychological aspect of the game.
Yeah.
Because we tend to dwell on what we did wrong in the last point.
Yeah.
And talk to any pro and you ask them what their single greatest tip is, they'll tell you focus on the next point.
Focus on the next point. Yeah.
Let the other one go. So taking that sort of moment to pause and breathe is very important. In fact, my partner and I, Karin, he and I, we had an actual word that we would use, and so for us it was just like once you heard the sort of safe word that we were using or trigger word, for us it was just a notice to pause, take a deep breath, calm down, especially in a tournament setting, especially as a timed sort of situation. And that was critical for us to be able to just reset and focus on sort of the next point and not get caught up in the moment and the speed of things. So it does make a big difference.
Yeah. It's easier said than done, though. I'll tell you, because it's for 2 years. I go on runs one way or the other for 2 years. And I know you want to forget that last point, but for some reason, your overall spirit changes if you really mess up.
Mm-hmm.
And even though you're not thinking about it, it just does something. So this is where I need a sports psychologist to help me out, I think.
So full disclosure, Patrick and I are not sports psychologists.
No,
So,
far
just
from it. I
yeah.
think we show that every. Hey, by the way, I just thought of something that we forgot at the very beginning. When we were going through our topics, we had a really important topic that we didn't even mention, and that's Anna Bright and Rachel Rohrbacher.
Yeah, we're actually getting to that a little later.
But we didn't even mention it in the teaser up front. So
No,
I'm
we
not
didn't.
trying to change the order of a thing, but we forgot to mention it in the teaser. So anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
so what's
We'll
next?
put it in the teaser in the notes. So when you
Yeah,
see
I will.
the
Yeah,
podcast published,
yeah.
we'll put that in. Next, actually, Patrick, is your cruise ship adventure. What's interesting is how he says he's not a sports psychologist, and I believe he's not. But what Patrick is a certified level 1 coach, and you can take the guy out of the pickleball court at home and put him on a cruise ship, and what does he do? He finds pickleball.
I did.
And
Yeah, I actually found some coaching to do too.
yeah,
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you. This is only the second cruise I've done in my life. I may not do anymore. I'd never had the opportunity, and my wife didn't want to do any. And she's hospitalized now, as we've spoken about. But I thought I'd give it a try, just to I'm by myself. I got nothing. I wanted something to do, and all my friends do a lot of cruises, or I should say not all my friends, but a lot of my friends do a lot of cruises. So Holland America is the official cruise line of the PPA tour. So every one of their cruise ships has pickleball on it. I've only been on 2 of their cruise ships. One of them is the oldest ship they have, which it's called the Volendam. And that was actually, the pickleball on that cruise ship was pretty good. I talked about that a while back. The courts are regulation length, regulation width, but the out of bounds area off to the side of the ship side, like interior side, had big red firebox, where fire hoses are, sticking really close to the net. So whenever balls went there, we didn't go there, because if you ever tripped around there, you're going to take your head off.
well,
So
hopefully nobody got hurt there.
no, nobody did. Nobody did,
Okay.
but we intentionally were careful. The ship I was on this time was called the Eurodam. Eurodam's a newer ship, but whereas the other one had courts on both sides of the ship. If it was on windy on one side, it was generally not on the other. The Eurodam, being a newer ship, had a bigger spaceport, but it was way up high on the ship, not on the sides. So there was nothing to block any wind whatsoever. And secondly, they only had one pickleball court. So it wasn't as ideal a situation as the other one in my case. They have newer ships still, and ones with multiple courts and things like that. I've not been on them, so I won't comment. But this one particularly, we had a very windy week. It was a Caribbean cruise to the Eastern Caribbean, and every day was windy. So the only time I really played a fair bit was in port before the cruise started, and in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And because we were in a protected area, I had nothing to do. The ship, you got on at like 9 or 10 in the morning, or maybe 11, and it didn't depart till about 5 in the afternoon. So I thought, hey, this is a pretty nice day. I'm in the sun. I just got to Florida, didn't hang around Florida, just got on the ship, and the weather was great. So I went up and started playing pickleball. Well, that day was a spectacular day. I had the sunscreen on, white boy getting out there. Haven't been in the sun in like how long. And
Long winters kept you inside, and
yeah, so it was kind of fun. So what happened was I got there, and there was no other pickleball players at the time, or maybe one we hit a few initially with. But then there was a grandmother with her 2 grandsons, and they were watching me play, and you could see they wanted to give this a try. I had a few extra paddles. Actually, the ship has extras too. And they were both kicking a soccer ball around. And I said, you want to give it a try? And this was about a 5-year-old and maybe a 10-year-old boy. And I'll tell you what, it was a lot of fun. So I gave them just the same kind of lesson I do for beginners, and a little different. I don't normally teach 5-year-olds, so that's going to be a different thing. And they'll be, doing whatever they feel like at the time. But the 10-year-old, man, I could not believe how fast he picked it up. And I mean, he was getting some top spin. He was doing all kinds of things. He was an athlete because he was kicking a soccer ball, and you could tell he could do it. But we ended up out there for about an hour and a half. And then before I was done, some other people came and had never played. So I ended up giving them a lesson too. Now, there are instructors, or at least one on the ship. And I went through one of her lessons, but what she would do it, she'd have like 30 people, and it's only one court. So on this particular ship. So it was a crowded, busy lesson with her.
Did you have to sign up for different times?
Yeah, they didn't have sign up. They had events, but again, most of those events got a little bit winded out. There was a tournament the one day, and I signed up for that myself, and they had a pretty good turnout. But the wind was so strong, you could not hit the ball. You could hit it as hard as you could, and you could not get it over the net going one way. And you could basically touch it if it was in the air, and it would sail. So it was a bit of a joke. It was a bit of a joke. And
was the court on the top level of the
ship? It was on the
top.
On this particular ship, it's on the top level.
Okay.
So again, it was fine when we were in port in Fort Lauderdale, and that's a very enclosed port area. Most of the other port areas aren't. They're out on like a dock way out, or they may even be out in the, you may have been moored out, away from shore. So they're still out in the wind. So I'm not. First of all, I would say you're not going on a cruise to play pickleball. One, so It may be the official, pickleball company of the PPA tour, but you don't go on a cruise to go play pickleball. Yeah, it's a nice thing to do. If you have days at shore that, you've done your touring around and all that, and you get back, fine. It is a nice way to meet people. And I met some really nice people. We played a lot. We played some on the first day. We played some on another day. And we were, and we met each other, and we had drinks and things like that together as well. So the folks that I met, there was a young lady from Vancouver, and her boyfriend was from Australia. Great, nice people. And they met on a cruise a year earlier. So, and I met a number of other people as well. So it is a nice place to get to meet people, especially me being by myself.
Yeah,
it's nice that way, right? Because it's just awkward being by yourself, to be honest, on a cruise. But I had a lot of fun, and I did get a little training in, and I felt like I did my job. I trained a few adults, I trained a few kids. It's just fun for me. So
look at that, pickleball bringing people together. We're all around the world.
Yeah,
and so
I would say, by the way, again, Holland America. Look at the ship if you really, really want to play pickleball. Look at the ship, see the configuration of the courts and things like this. Again, this one only had one, and it was actually a multi-sport court. It had, pickleball in it, but it also had a basketball net at the one end, so there was no fence at the back of the pickleball court. It went further back, so it wasn't an ideal court. But they do have good courts, or better courts, on some of the other ships. So if you want to look it up, Holland America. It's not an affiliate link or anything. We're not sponsored by them. Although Holland America, if you hear this, give us
exactly.
Yeah. Anyway,
we're totally down for a sponsorship of Holland America.
Or another cruise. Yeah,
official cruise sponsor of Pickleball Today, the pod.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So what do we have next, John?
Well, next up, I'm going to get into talking about some products here in a little bit, but I think we should probably get to this paddle winner, Patrick.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's an important thing that folks have been kind of waiting for.
Okay.
And I think this is where you shine. You get to deliver the best news of the day.
Well, I don't know if it's the best. It's nice. Well, give me a drum roll.
Okay.
There we go. And the paddle winner today is a gentleman named Steve McAlpine.
Hey,
Steve,
congratulations, Steve.
hey, congratulations, Steve. So we have a paddle for you. We need to hear from you. You can email. Well, we'll email you first. You email, and we'll reply, and then we can figure out how to get you the paddle. So congratulations. Now, while we're on the topic again, pickleballtoday.co/win for this month's paddle. And that contest is going from 30 days from today as we record on the, what is the date today?
15th.
15th,
March
16th?
15th. March 15, yeah.
Yeah. So it's going till April 15th. And we may even give away 2 paddles on that one, I think, because we've got enough. And we'll make up for our, lack of an episode. So anyway, pickleballtoday.co/win. Enter there. Give us a comment, like whatever you can do to spread the word when you see this video. And that will be part of your entry. And the more things you do, the more entries you get. So, John, I think it's up to you now. Why don't we talk about your carbon Trufoam?
Yeah, so we did touch on the TrueFoam in our last episode, and since then we've had a bit more time with it. I've certainly had a lot of time with it, and have had requests from other players at our club that I'd wanted to borrow it, so I'll give it to them for a few days. Then I'll start playing with it again for a few days, and for me, it's I found it to be very much a control paddle. With elements of the power. I don't need a lot more in a power paddle necessarily, but certainly the control aspect of it for me has been a day and night difference from some of the other ones that I used to play with, and it held up really well. And I think what we found is, for a number of people that have played with it, sort of given their feedback, it's been resoundingly positive. So much so that I think Carbon is sold out of them right now, and they're gonna have to pre-order for a wait list as they're waiting for the next shipment. So I think that's a good sign. But certainly for my experience, the TrueFoam is not going to break down. You don't have a break-in period where you kind of have to get used to it. You just straight out of the package and
Right.
play, and you'll find it is a very easy to handle, lightweight paddle. I did over grip it, just to make sure that it wasn't hurting me, but certainly I like the over grip. Some people weren't keen on the sort of octagonal shape, but for those that like to play a little more, more of a lighter game, heavy dinking game, specific to the kitchen, those folks really took to it well and enjoyed the control and the ability that it has, similar to the next gem that you're playing with, Patrick. It did give a lot more control, I found. And it's it only comes in the 14 mil, so it's not a matter of having a 12 mil power paddle or something a little softer than a 16. The 14 is right in the middle, so it gives you that perfect balance of both control and power, and that durability I think that a lot of people are looking for. So for folks like Patrick and I that play 5-6 days a week, most weeks, you tend to wear out paddles pretty quickly, and so the promise is from Carbon that this isn't going to wear out that quickly because of the TrueFoam core. So we'll see how that goes, but so far so good. I think right now I would give it definitely an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
And then that's after a very thorough review and putting it through the paces on a veritable daily basis. So
I've noticed you've lent it out to a lot of people, and a lot of people liked it.
Yeah, I have actually. I gave it out to someone else the other day. She asked for it again. Actually, she had it for a few days, a couple of weeks ago, and she asked, there are a couple of big games coming up. Do you mind if I use it? Yeah, absolutely. Here you go.
Fair enough.
But yeah,
well, we're gonna have another paddle next episode. They're coming in about 4 days, and it's the Selkirk 008, the Selkirk Labs 008. That's another foam paddle, so not honeycomb core, but a foam core. So it'll be fun to compare the two. I know there's some people have done comparison videos. They're the most similar two paddles to date. I'm sure there will be, everybody will probably have foam core later, but Selkirk and Carbon were the two right away. I didn't order any because they're pretty expensive, just like the Carbon's fairly expensive. And I have so many paddles here. The last thing I want to do is spend, a boatload more. But they
Right.
finally made them available to me as an advocate at a big discount. So I thought, let's get a few. So they have 3 different shapes and 2 different thicknesses. Now, particularly one of the shapes is not a shape I like, so I didn't order it. But I ordered the shape I like in 2 different thicknesses, 13 mil and 16. And the other shape is new to me, but it looks really interesting. It's I like a elongated type shape, but this is a little bit, well, it actually probably very similar to the Selkirk, but it has an elongated handle.
Oh, okay.
And they're calling it a tour shape, like tour pros. I like double back, 2-handed backhands, or I also switch over to my right hand quite often if I'm way out of position. But I'm actually fortunate that I can hit a little bit with it with my right hand. So, but I prefer to be doing 2-handed backhands because I can really control them much better. So 2-handed backhand means both hands here. So a little bit extra length on the handle is nice for me. So I'm looking forward to those, and they arrive on St. Patrick's Day. When's that? Tomorrow? No,
No, it's Monday. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's my day. Three new paddles from South.
Well, that's gonna be a great day for you, Patrick.
Great day. Say nothing about the Guinness eventually that day.
Right.
Anyway, and we talked about the cart or the next gen, so no sense talking about that. We wanted to talk about. Well, what was your next topic? I don't have the topic list in front of me.
I just wanted to mention that I might have gone a little overboard my last order at Carbon, just to, I figured we'll get a few fun products. But one thing, outside of, the little TrueFoam keychain.
There you go.
Yeah, I joke with people, like, if you don't even have a pickleball paddle keychain, like, do you even play, right? Are you dedicated to the cause?
You should give it to your hamster.
I don't have a hamster, unfortunately, but I'll hang on to that one on my keys. But for animals, if you want a dog toy, this one killed me. It's the Carbon Canine. You can see there. But I have 2 dogs, and they both started fighting over it. So I told Patrick just before we started recording today, I had to quickly run downstairs and grab the dog toy, and they were not happy about me reaching into space and taking this paddle away from them. So
one of they haven't come up and ripped the headphone off you, and
yeah, I'm waiting for it. That's why I'm not squeezing it. But there is a squeaker inside, and if I were to squeeze that, one of them would come running up here to grab that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's nice when we can include our furry friends as well in the game. But really, what I want to talk about extra products today is this. It's a slice end cap. So it's made by a company called Slice. This one is made for Carbon, but you see them for other brands as well. And it's a rated end cap. And I'd never actually tried this before. And I waited till after we were able to record this to be able to put it on. Also, I want to ask our pro to help me in retaping my handle. But essentially, it does give you, I think, 2 ounces of weight to counterbalance your paddle. Whereas, typically you're putting the lead weights on the side of your paddle, but this as a counterweight on the end of the handle is much it's much easier to kind of finesse the ball if you kind of run the risk of hitting too hard or not getting the right paddle position, but really just kind of that underhanded hit that you really want to try to get for more consistent shots. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this fares, and I'm going to try it on a couple of different paddles that I have and see. I ordered a few of them, by the way, but just want to see how well this works and if it's something that we can recommend moving forward. But if anybody has any insight into these, if you've used them before, let us know. Reach out to us via the show. Email us, message us in any method you choose. But tell us how it worked for you. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Is it worth the money? Is it worth the effort to redo your whole paddle or what? I mean, Patrick, I don't know if you've had any
Right.
experience with
No,
this.
I've never used one, but people could just leave a comment under the video if they're watching on YouTube or in the whatever podcast they have as well, or as you said, email or Facebook page or wherever, anywhere we get feedback from you, we will reply to it if you want. And
this one I'm very curious to know. I would love to know if anybody uses these. I find with a lot of other products, there's often people that just swear by them. And if that's the case, then please reach out. Tell me all about it.
I'm not a pro on them. I've never used one, but I expect again, especially when I found it, I want to put a little more power on. I put some extra weight on the end. This might then balance it. Still, you might get that weight on the end, but then the paddle's very heavy. Might give you a strain. So putting a little bit here might help. It's funny. We're circling back to the elbow, wrist, and things like that too by having a little weight and balancing out the paddle a bit better.
Yeah, it's amazing how big of a difference those weights make too, even on the side. I've only got 2 weights at 10 and 2, but I've seen people with weights all the way around.
Yes.
All depending on sort of the shape of your paddle, how you play, and sort of what you're looking for, just to kind of make that difference. So
I did that on a paddle just for fun a while ago with a lot of weight on it, head 2 on the sides, a little extra on the side to see does it really make it. You know what it did? Hurt my elbow. So weights are a big thing. So again, we keep circling back to how you can screw yourself up. Basically, don't put too much weight on your paddles.
All right, so choose your weights wisely. That's the moral of the story today, folks. It's don't overdo it with the weights, and then you don't have to figure out a way to resolve your elbow pain.
Yeah.
So moving through sort of our topic list, one thing that really caught my attention in the past couple of weeks was really this rule change. The PPA tour, they implemented a provisional targeting rule to address intentional and reckless shots aimed above opponents' shoulders. So this really caught my attention for the simple fact that, we talked about our last episode and the targeted shot that Ben Johnson had taken, and sort of the appropriateness of it. And then once you sort of learn the story behind it, how, at that pro level, there was some I guess not some polite shots being taken on both sides of the net.
I saw that. Really, match.
That really precipitated that sort of reaction, and I think because it was Ben Johns that did it, everyone took note. But as such, the PPA has actually gone to the extent of implementing a new rule. So I dug into it a little bit, and I'm just gonna read some of this off here. I won't go too deep into it, but really the definition of the violation in this case is any deliberate or reckless targeting of an opponent above the shoulders is deemed extreme unsportsmanlike conduct. So I think the wording that they chose to kind of highlight this, or rather define it, has really kind of I don't want to say it's a reaction to sort of what we've been seeing in recent years and months, but it almost feels like it. But they're not messing around with this. They will, for the first offense, issue a technical foul resulting in a point awarded to the opponent. There's a minimum fine of $2,500 imposed on the offending player. And then subsequent offenses ended up going up to $5,000 fines, forfeiture of a match, and other sort of extreme measures that they'll be taking in controlling this. So, personally, if I'm looking at this new rule, Patrick, I'm thinking this is a good move. This is something that's intended to make the game safer. It's avoid this targeting that's happening. Hitting anyone above the shoulders is uncalled for. And all of us have taken balls at some point. It's depending on who you're playing. I've had bruises. I've had welts. I've fortunately.
You saw me. I got whacked a couple times the other day. Now, they weren't at my head.
No. It's, but they were almost worse. Those ones, Patrick. But the not targeting above the shoulders and
Yeah,
really kind of having referees look out for that, I think is going to make the game a lot more professional. Because I mean, these games do get heated,
right.
tempers kind of flare, and you know often can't really resist kind of hitting back.
Yeah,
I think this is hopefully a measure that will kind of give everybody pause for thought and remember that this is a sport. Let's be courteous to our opponents. We might not like where we're at in the game or how we're playing or the circumstance, but it is never okay to target someone. And I think
yeah,
we see this in other sports, football and others, where there's targeting rules, and
yeah.
I think it's good for the PPA to kind of catch up on this. And I think what we saw a few months ago was really the precursor to sort of where we ended up here. And so all in all, I think from my perspective, hats off to the PPA for implementing this new rule.
I like it
Uh,
too. I like
Sorry.
it too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also think we in the amateur game, we don't have fines, but it hopefully also helps people think about it. We've seen people. First of all, we're not great. We're not, or at least I'm not, but we're not as accurate as the pros. The pros, if they want to hit somebody, they can do it, right?
Absolutely.
The
Yeah.
problem with amateurs is if you want to miss somebody, you can hit somebody.
That's right.
You're right. And so if you're drilling, especially now with harder paddles, much harder paddles, some of them,
Mm-hmm.
and more powerful paddles, and you're just drilling it with it, like the soft game is kind of vanishing in the game, and people are drilling it with topspin and whatever. But we see in the amateur game players that like to hit hard but are not particularly accurate, right? So it just makes me think it's something to be conscious about. I mean, I really do wear these all the time now when I play. These are not I'm not plugging these or anything, but some kind. And I know you are wearing a safety glasses as well,
Yeah.
um, because we're not pros and we're not that accurate. And mistakes happen, and the last thing you want to do is lose an eye. My father-in-law lost an eye at age 60 playing hockey. At age
Yikes.
60, right? And went through many surgeries, but he never got his vision back from it. And hats off to him for playing hockey at age 60. And
Yeah, really.
he was a good player. He played for St. Mike's in Toronto, St. Mike's College in Toronto when he was a young guy. But he kept playing, but because he just loved it and he could fly. But at age 60, he got one in the eye, and that was, I can't remember if that was before. Well, it was definitely before cages and clear vision, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I can't remember if they had masks or not of any kind then. Anyway, we got to be protected. We only got two of them. By the way, I'm getting eye surgery in the next 2 weeks, total off side. I'm getting a cataract surgery. So one eye's done 1 week, one eye's done 2 weeks later, and I will not need these distance glasses anymore. So good news on that while we're on that.
So we'll fill you in on how Patrick's game progresses after his eye surgery.
Yeah, we'll see. No more excuses, right?
Well, I didn't want to go that far, but
I've used the glasses, no glasses excuse whenever I can.
yeah, absolutely. But
Well, I think is
I
that about
hope
it
that goes
today,
well. I
John?
really hope that goes well for you, Patrick.
Yeah.
I think for anyone that's getting any sort of corrective surgery done, it's it's always kind of concerning as you go into it, but at the end
Yeah.
of it, you feel so much better, and
I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, I will need them for reading still, maybe, but they're not sure. Anyway, I think that's about it for today, is it not, John?
no, not at all, actually.
No.
So
Oh,
we
the
wanted
girlies.
to, we wanted to introduce a
Yeah.
new segment, and this is just a little more of a gratitude thing than anything else. But really, it's just I had proposed this to Patrick, and we talked about it. And I thought, okay, this is kind of a fun thing to do, and so really just player shoutouts and community stories, I think, is what this is all about. I think anybody that plays pickleball understands that it's not just a sport. There's also a community element to it. You get to meet some great people. I mean, I would have never met Patrick if it wasn't for pickleball. So, I mean, I think this is a testament to the game itself. But every now and then, there's folks within the pickleball world and your orbit that just has a real impact. And sometimes those people are on TV, and I've never met them.
Yeah.
And so, I thought, let's do a little segment on sort of, is there a person or a group of individuals that kind of deserve a shout out, on an episode for just being an influential member or party to the game. And so my pick for this week is going to be Anna Bright and Rachel Rohrbacher, the Girlies as they're known. So for those of you that do follow pro pickleball, and Anna and Rachel, if you're listening, I'm a huge fan. And
I am too.
And Patrick is too. We were talking about who my pick was, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I love those guys." And so, what really caught my attention, beyond them being spectacular players, just the sportsmanship that they exhibit, really the passion that they bring to the game, is the newest venture that they have with their apparel line that's sold out in a couple hours. I wasn't even able to get one. But I really want one of those Girlies sweatshirts. So if anybody has one in an appropriate size they want to get rid of, call me. But I think these are two to watch. So for those that like to watch pro pickleball, as I do, make time to watch the Girlies play, because they are just phenomenal.
Everywhere you turn, you hear about pickleball. It's one of the fastest growing sports in history. So we invite you over to Pickleball Today, the podcast version of Pickleball Today, Canada's national pickleball news source. We cover Canadian pros, tournaments, clubs, travel, health, Canadian pickleball business and suppliers, as well as the world of paddles and other gear. If it has anything to do with pickleball, we're talking about it. Pickleball Today, the podcast version of Pickleball Today. Find us on YouTube Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Podbean.
I don't know much about Rachel, and I didn't hear much from her. I didn't hear her really speaking, but she was newer to the group then, and she was letting Anna take the lead on everything. But Anna is a definite type A personality, by far. She is maybe the most intense. I mean, there's intense players out there, irrespective of whether male or female, it doesn't matter. She's got to be in the top 5. She's just the intensity in her brain and the ability to lift herself up and her partner and her teammates was really impressive to watch, right? And she's a great player on her own, but it's, to me, her brain is what was spectacular to me, the way she was doing it. She's just a real hard charger, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of her and Rachel both. They've really kind of burst out onto the scene, and just to watch them play is just, it's so dynamic. And really my pick for this episode, really, the Girlies, hands down. You win my vote this week.
Yeah.
And so we'll see who's next, but we want to kind of put this out to the listener community here as well. So if there's somebody in your pickleball community that you feel should be getting a shout out, by all means, send it in to us. Patrick and I might be able to read it on there. And,
you know what? Why don't we do that? I said maybe I'll give away another paddle next month. Let's do the one paddle based on the draw and another paddle based on who we select from the contributions. Okay.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Make it worth your while. So, but you can't use Anna Bright anymore.
No.
Well, I guess you could. I don't know how we will select, but we'll have to figure that out because we'll be watching as well. But the person who gives us the one that we end up using next month, and by the way, you could even submit somebody that's in your local community that's just doing incredible things.
That's right.
And that the more, whether it's charity, fundraising, club building, whatever it be, whether you're U.S., Canada, or wherever. we would count all of those kinds of things. It doesn't have to be a pro we see on TV. I know we're going to do. I was just talking to somebody at the place we play, and I'm going to do another fundraising tournament for Alzheimer's.
Oh, nice.
A little while. Yeah, we haven't finalized the date, but it's going to be a multi-level tournament where, different skill levels and things like that. There'll be beginner categories and things along that, and it'll probably be 2 or 3 days. So it's going to be a job, but that's totally a fundraiser for Alzheimer's. But anyway, that kind of community building, we're not included, but that kind of community building or fundraising for great causes, we both are into that. John and I both are, and we would love to hear from you about that too. So
absolutely, yeah. So send in your community shout outs, and we'd be happy to bring that up. Also, Anna and Rachel, if you're listening, feel free to join us as a guest sometime. We've had we're always welcome you to the show. Bring the girlies on to talk to the boys here, and we'll see how that goes. But I'm sure it'll be very engaging. But yes, absolutely. Write in, let us know who your influential or person of the week is. I think it's important to recognize that. I think what we found in the pickleball community is it's not only the love of the game that makes it so important to us in our lives. It's also the people that are around you that make that activity so much more enjoyable, and that's what I've really found. So that's what sort of led to this, and then just to kind of get into some of the other stuff that we'll be covering in our next episode, Patrick. I'm going to a wedding next weekend, and it's a pickleball themed wedding. And I don't know if anyone's ever been to one. I certainly haven't, so I'm really looking forward to this, and I look forward to telling everybody all about it. But I'm told that I will be participating in play at the wedding. So there will be, and I understand that the wedding is sponsored by a particular company. There will be, in lieu of a first dance, a first pickleball match, kind of an exhibition match.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I will be playing pickleball in a suit. So I'm looking forward to seeing how well that works. So
we need pictures. We will need pictures.
I think there'll be whole videos that'll be coming out of it. It'll be content that's generated as a result. Yeah.
I know who it is, and he's a wonderful guy. So I don't know the partner, but anyway, I don't think I know the partner anyway that I'm aware of.
Yeah, that's I don't know either. But
yeah. Anyway,
we'll be talking all about it after. Right now, we're gonna kind of attend the wedding first, and it'll be something to hear. So if you want to hear all about the pickleball wedding that I'll be going to next weekend, tune into our next episode and hear all about it.
So with that, I think we have covered everything. I keep saying that, but I'm not. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I want to remind you though, again, enter for your free paddle. The more interaction, the better. We want to thank you both. First of all, John, you and I have had just a blast of a week. We've had so many laughs, and I'm glad we got this episode out, but we had so many laughs as well when we played this week. Oh, my goodness. By the way, when we laugh, we're not laughing at other people. We're laughing at ourselves or what we say to each other during playing and things like that. But, oh, my goodness, this makes it so much fun. So
I think to Claude and Tisha, sorry for the behavior that you saw from Patrick on my side of the net on that one. It was we were having a lot of fun. So anybody looking at us and seeing what was going on at our end of the court would have thought either these guys are a couple drinks in or a few too many dummies or something. But we had a serious case of the giggles and we couldn't even stop. And it was just I think a further testament to playing, enjoying the time. So it's not a chore. It's an activity that you love doing, and it's the people that you love being around.
Right.
I think is what made that one memorable. But this was kind of next level, Patrick. I think we took it to maybe a different level with
we will.
Jokes
and unfortunately, it was some stuff that we can't talk about. But anyway, it was fun.
Yeah, but it was funny though.
Look, I think we have. We've covered everything. It was a fun episode for me to do. I appreciate it, John.
Yeah.
We'll end it here. we just want to thank you guys. I mean, the number of viewers by the time you reach the end of an episode is pretty slim. But if you are one of them still with us, thank you very, very, very much. In fact, here's a tip. Let's give a code word that they can leave in a comment that they saw this at the very end. What will our code word be? Just name whatever. If somebody leaves this in a comment, that means they've been to the end of our video, and we might have another award for them too. Let's say it'll be Monday. Easy. Monday. Just say Monday.
Just
leave the word
St.
Monday.
Patrick. Let's go St. Patrick.
Oh yeah, that's better. Which is Monday. Say St. Patrick. That's perfect. And in the video or in a comment, whatever, that means we know you got to the end and you are one of the 4 people that got there. We are, and that means you're part of the club. Anyway, thanks everybody. Thanks, John. We'll see you all in the next episode. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Where?